Happy Halloween, folks. And my first movie up is going to be Candy Corn, and this is available to stream on Shudder. And this is a movie that I had no expectations going to it at all. I didn't watch any of the trailers, I didn't read the synopsis. All I knew going into this movie is that it starred Tony Todd, and I saw the poster to the film. The poster looked pretty cool. It's a very basic design, but I thought it was a pretty cool poster. And I was willing to just go along with the feel of this movie and just see if it can surprise me. Just go in open minded and have expectations to a low. Since this is a movie that I knew very little about, and this is actually a slasher film. This is an independent, low budget slasher film that tackles the revenge subgenre, because this is a revenge tale, which this story has been done a ton of times in the horror genre. And this is a story that it doesn't really do anything new. It doesn't really add its own touch to it. It follows the formula of a revenge movie, like beat for beat. There's nothing that this movie really stands out that I haven't really seen in other revenge styled horror films. But yeah, putting aside the cliche storyline to this film, like how are the kills, how's the acting. The kills in this movie are pretty brutal. There's one kill towards maybe the middle of the film, like about 30 minutes into the movie. Our main bad guy, he pulls the spine out of one of the characters, and it's something out of Mortal Kombat. While it's not as violent, that's the kill that comes to mind as being creative. There is some creativity here with the kills. While the kills in this movie aren't anything special, there isn't a whole lot of blood and gore. There is definitely a nice touch of creativity. There is a nice touch of brutality to the film. While there aren't any close-up shots there aren't a lot of close-up shots of the blood and gore, there is definitely a fair amount in here. I could have gone for more in this movie, but I think the way it was shot, you're mainly focused on the character's facial reaction, as he's getting killed, and then you see a lot of aftermath gore, and you see the money shot of the spine being pulled out or the arms being pulled off the character, but you don't actually get a full look. It's more reliant on sound than it is visual. But I thought there was some pretty cool gore in the film, so I like that. As for the acting in this movie, the acting's fucking terrible. The acting is not good in this movie. The acting is the acting, it does get better as the film progresses. I'll put it that way. There's one character that comes to mind as starting off. His performance was really iffy for me. I wasn't really sold on what he was doing with this character, and then towards the end there is a bit more of a believability, but none of the characters in this film you are really rooting for, because they've all done something awful. And all these characters, they are written to be dickheads, and we're following their story throughout this movie, and we're supposed to like these characters when they've done something awful. Just because they went to the police and told them about that, that doesn't make you a likable character. You may have redeemed yourself a little bit, but you're still, at the end of the day, you're still unlikable pieces of shit. And so when these characters are getting killed, like the movie, it forces a lot of emotion. There's there's this weird thing that the movie does with its music, where characters are talking and they're muted, and music is playing. That happens at least 7 times throughout this movie, and it was so annoying because this scene, it should have been a dialogue based scene with quiet music, but instead there's this, it's more reliant on music, and I don't know. For me, I didn't understand why they were doing that when the scene was clearly directed to be dialogue based, and then in post production they just muted these conversations and added music, and just it felt strange coming from a scene beforehand that was dialogue, and then it was going to lead into another scene that is very much dialogue based. But yeah, just I didn't really like what they did with the music as far as how they placed it throughout the film. But I think the musical score, I think, is quite good in this movie. Actually, I think the music is fine in this movie. It's like you do feel bad. You do feel bad for the villain in this film, because he doesn't really want to hurt these people, but these students or these teenagers have driven him to the point where he has had it up to the roof. He has had enough. But yeah, and so there is another twist which I won't reveal. But yeah, I thought that this was a pretty good movie. While I felt like the pacing was sometimes off, and I felt like the direction could have been much better, and the writing, the writing could have definitely been better. I mean, the writing in this movie, especially in the first half, it is really bad, but it does get better as the film progresses. It seems like the film, it starts off not very good, but then if you do stick with the movie, it does end up getting a little better. But at the same time, I can't say I would really recommend this movie to anyone, because it's just there's better films out there. But if you do want to support independent low budget slasher films, since this film I don't actually hear talked about much in the whole community. I would say yeah, check this movie out if you are a slasher fan, and because there is some cool gore in the movie. We have I guess a cool villain who has a cool story arc in the movie. But yeah, just don't go into it expecting anything special. So yeah, that's my review for Candy Corn. If you guys have seen it, let me know what you think.